All right, we are live. Thank everyone for watching us for the internet. Welcome for those who's here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, the number of people, that's fine. All right, so we start a new month. September is here, and we're going to start talking about vices and virtues. For our first lecture, we have Teresa, who's going to talk about vices and virtues. Or maybe, yeah, just vices, right? Thank you. Before we start, let's get our initial prayer and reading through Raquel, and then we go straight to the lecture. All right? Thank you.
So the reading of today is from Happy Life. Always try to not make the decision that hurts you and your neighbor the least. Before you make commitments, think about the possible results, and you'll be more easily able to choose those that will provide you with the best fruits in the future. Whenever advantages for you mean problems for someone else, refuse them. No one can be happy building his happiness on the misfortune of his neighbor. To put it another way, do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. What you lose today to avoid harming another, you will receive tomorrow without hurting anybody. So let's now elevate our thoughts to our Master Jesus and all the spiritual friends that come here today to help and guide us. Let's thank them for the opportunity of being here together one more day, learning a little bit more from his teachings on how to become better spirits, better humans. Let's ask them to open our minds and our hearts so we may absorb as much as possible today. And let's ask them to inspire our friend Teresa, that she may express to her best and touch everyone's heart. Thank you, so be it.
All right. So, thank you everybody for being here again on a long weekend, sunny long weekend. Probably better things to do than talk about vices and virtues, especially vices. But you guys are all here. And so theme of the month, vices and virtues. And it's coming from this booklet, this collection of booklets from FEB, from Spiritist Brazilian Federation. It's called the Estudo Aprofundado da Doutrina Espírita. And I'm basically using book 4, which is called Spiritism, the Promised Consoler by Jesus. And so as we said, sorry, actually, I'm just set up everything here for me first. So, theme of the month, vices and virtues. So it's a little bit easier for us to know that vices going one way, virtues going the other way, and they don't kind of go hand in hand, right? One's contrary to the other. But the first concept that's very important for us to know is that either one, it's inherent of the human beings, which means we all have vices inside of us. We all have virtues. It's part of being a human being. If you're a human being, you have both of them, unless you're Christ and then he doesn't have vices. He only has virtues, right? But in the moral evolution that we are, we all carry both of them inside of us, okay? And on the Spiritist book, on question 908, they say that virtues are the sentiments that lift us above our animal nature. And so they draw us closer to perfection. They draw us closer to God. So it's all those things that makes us to walk farther away from that instinctive life that we used to have as a primitive spirit, and gets us closer to God, gets us closer to his laws of love. On the other hand, serious imperfections and natural disposition to practice the bad, so to do the things, it's actually the opposite. It's our vices, right? So everything that we can do that can harm someone or even ourselves, that's part of our vices. That's what we have here. And that's what we're here to talk today. And I just want to make clear, it wasn't my choice to talk about vices on a Lunch and Learn. So I hope I can make this in a way, right, Declay? It's not my fault, okay? So any complaints, Declay back in there. Talk about vices on a Lunch and Learn. I'll try, and I hope I'll make that in a way that we all be able to digest the food after, okay?
Let's talk about the...
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, gluttony. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, just clear there. Okay. So I have nothing to do with that. It's not my fault. So when we talk about vices, what's the first thing that comes to our minds when we talk about vices? Gluttony. Yeah, we just talk about one. So usually when we talk about vices, exactly. So that's what we think about, right? Drugs, gambling, smoking. Prescriptions, some people are addicted. So usually we connect with addictions, right? Drinking, gluttony, and let's go addiction to sex, addictions to anything. That's all it comes in our mind in terms of vices. And that's correct. Those are all vices. And they're vices because they do actually keep us away from the path of goodness, because they actually, most of them destroy our bodies and they destroy our psychological side. And we know that our body is a blessed tool that was given to us to be here and be able to live this mission that we have to live in here. So we have a moral responsibility to take care of this body to the best of that we can, right? And so yeah, they are vices. But how Spiritism look at vices? So Spiritism look at vices in a little bit different way, because Spiritism look at vices in a way broader way, right? It goes beyond, because if you really think, when you think of vices only in this way, we think about this life, right? So I don't believe there's anything before. Yeah, I may believe there's something after, whatever it is, but I only believe what I'm doing here and right now. So we don't look at the whole picture, which is Spiritism now starts to bring this whole picture. So in Spiritism, vices is pride. It is everything that we talked about before, but it's also talking about pride. It's selfishness. Gossip it's a vice. None of us do it, right? So we're okay with that one. Gossip is an easy one. Jealousy. Anger. And I could keep going on and on and on. I don't have no space for so many pictures in there, right? Because vanity, everything, right? We could name. So now Spiritism starts to look also at the moral aspect. And also it brings us a bigger picture, because now it doesn't see just what we're doing here right now in this life, but it now brings us the concept that our moral elevation and the amount of vices or virtues that we carry inside of us also comes from our pre-existent lives. So it's not just what we do here anymore. So it's a combination of what I have created in this life, but also what I bring to me, or all the experiences that I had before that combined all together brings me to the moral elevation level that I am here right now. Right? So that's what brings my tendencies. So if I have a tendency to be a very angry person, a very selfish person, well, probably I'm bringing these tendencies from way before, right? It just didn't happen here now in this life, right? And on the Spirit's book, on question 793, Kardec asks a question, says, how do we recognize a completed civilization? So civilization that's completed, like now they find that more evolution is done. And the Spirit's book says, the Spirits when they're answering, they say, well, we are recognized by their moral development. So let's look at a civilization and see how morally evolved they are, and then we'll know if they're completed or not. And he even says something, the Spirit says something that it's, I won't say a joke because the spirits are not joking, but it's almost like a poke. He says, and you know what? You guys think you're civilized. You like to call yourself civilized, because we do. We call our civilization now as a civilized, actually 500 years ago, right, or a little bit more. We came there from Europe. The civilized man came from Europe and came to the Americas and killed everybody, destroyed their culture, took their land, but we were the civilized guys, right? So that's our image of being civilized. So that's what the Spirit says. You think you're civilized just because you made all those amazing discoveries, because now you have all those inventions, because now you dress better than you used 1,000 years ago, or your shelters are way better than it used to be 1,000 years ago. So you think that that's what makes you civilized. And he says, you know what? Unfortunately, until you don't live in a place where everybody treats each other as a brother and sister with love and fraternity, you cannot call yourself a civilized. So the max that you can do, it's call your community as enlightened culture. That's the maximum that you can do. So you are, in terms of intellectually, yeah, you're evolved, but you're not a civilization yet. You're not civilized, because civilized is to treat each other as a brothers and sisters. And what's interesting is that when God created us, we know by the Spiritist that when God created us, he created us simple and ignorant. Because he had a plan. He said, I'm going to create all of you simple and ignorant. And then I'm going to give you the capacity of slowly grow intellectually and morally, right? But in God's plans, which is perfect, as we know, the plan was, as you grow intellectually, you're going to understand things a little bit more. So you're going to grow morally as well. And as you grow morally as well, more, you're going to help when you're intellectual. And they both going to grow side to side. Because then this process of growing and reaching perfection, it's going to be a way easier, way faster, and less painful. Because the more I understand, the more I have tools to help me, technology helping me, but morally evolved, they help each other. Beautiful. Yeah, there's only one problem. Is that a few who know how many thousands years ago, or maybe million years ago, we, his creation, had a better plan. Because we thought we were smarter than God. Right? And why we thought that? Because of this. So we thought we had a better plan than God, and decided to say, you know, this thing about moral, really, it takes too long, and it slows down my intellectual. It requires too much sacrifice. I don't like it, right? And it doesn't suit me, which goes to the second one. Me, selfishness. And we know by the gospel according to the Spiritism that pride and selfishness are the parents of every single vice that we carry. So they're the top, and then every single vice that you have is just a division of those two vices that we have. So we decided that we wanted to grow intellectually way faster than we did morally. And that's exactly the type of civilization that we live today, because that's how we like to call ourselves. Where technology, yeah, we are amazing. And if you even think in technology in the last 20 to 30 years, it's crazy how much technology grew. Like our amount of knowledge that we have, it's amazing. Morally, we're still in this pretty much, more or less, the same as we were 2,000 years ago when the Christ came. So there is a huge difference in there. So because we let our vices take care and we decide to change God's plan, there is a consequence. And the consequence is suffering and pain. So that's why now we live in a planet where, yeah, technology is amazing. We have all those things that can help us, but we have so much suffering. Look at our planet, how many wars we have going around, hunger, how many areas in this planet is people, like kids are dying with no food, with no medical treatment, parents that hate their kids, kids that hate their parents, brothers and sisters don't talk to each other, depression. We live in a society that now the levels of depression are huge. Like we never saw levels of depression like that before. And why did it happen? It happened because we changed the plans. Because we really thought that we had a better plan than God. And we decided to separate intellectual evolution from moral evolution. And every time we do that, we create suffering and pain. And vices were not created by God. Let's make this very clear. God didn't create the bad. We created. And we created by letting all those bad things that we have take over and be stronger than our virtues. Because we all have virtues. Absolutely all of us have it. Yeah, even that guy that's in jail and killed 20 people, yeah, he has virtues. Maybe smaller than some, but he has. We all have virtues inside of us. And we all have the power to make the choice. What are we going to do? I'm going to use my vices or my virtues. Okay. The other thing that we need to talk about is passions. Because when we talk about vices, we have to talk about passion as well. And passion is something that is very interesting, because the definition of passion is an intense sentiment that clouds the reason. That's a definition. But what the Spirit's book says on question 908 is that passions are levers that increase humans' powers tenfold and help them to fulfill the designs of providence. So it cannot be a bad thing, because I have so much passion to do something that I can maybe fulfill something that I was supposed to fulfill, because that passion drives me to do something. But it says, however, if instead of directing their passions, they allow themselves to be directed by them, so now I don't direct my passion, but my passion directs me, they fall into excess, and the very power which in their hands could have done good falls upon them and crushes them instead. So, passion, it's something that I love so much that I draw all my energy to it, right? And like they said, it can be something good. Some scientists that help us with so many important knowledge have been driven by passion. They just wanted to keep learning, and they wanted to discover something, and they let that passion go. And it's okay if that passion, it's being controlled by reason. Because that's actually what the Spiritist book says, is that we really have to have our passion under the control of reason. So yes, I have this passion, I'm going to work on this, and I'm going to do as much as I wanted to do. I have this charity that I really have a passion that I'm going to do everything that I can do to help. But I need to control myself, because it has to be inside of a reason. Because otherwise I can easily let my vices all to pop up. So my selfishness, my pride, because now I like that so much. I wanted to be the CEO for that company because I have a passion for this company. So I don't care who's in front of me. I'm going to step on everybody because that is my passion, right? So we need to be very careful, because it has to have a reasoning there. It has to be well controlled, right? But, and that's what happens. In Brazil, we have, for example, you have crimes of passion. So, ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend that goes there and kill the girlfriend and the new boyfriend because, I have a passion for this girl, or I have passion for this guy, and if she's not going to be mine or he's not going to be mine, he's not going to belong to anybody, and then I go and I kill someone. So, those are crimes that are created by our passion, that it's not well controlled by reason, right? And we need to be very, very careful with that. And that's why they say that to administer our dominant or passionate impulse, it's imperative to use the reason, right? So know why we're doing stuff. Know exactly why we're doing stuff. Don't let the things to come out, right? So passion is something very, very hand in hand with vices. What should be done and what should be done? How do I carry my sentiments? How do I carry my emotions, right? And then we're going to talk about a little bit about prevention and control of vices and inferior passions. And why it's important to know prevention and control. It is very important because unfortunately for many of us, there's brothers and sisters, and we could be some of them, that leave the door of a discarnation exactly in the same way that they came through the door of a reincarnation. Which means they giving this opportunity to come here. We are giving this opportunity of coming here. Slowly better ourselves. Get better. But what we do, we come and do nothing. We don't change anything, right? And I keep going and I discarnate and I waste a whole reincarnation because I didn't bother to control or even to understand or even to recognize that I have vices inside of me that need to be changed, right? Is the famous phrase that we like to see, oh, that's who I am and I'm not gonna change, and if you don't like it, you just have to accept me in the way that I am, right? Which to an extent we understand, now this is who I am, you know, and we do really have to accept each other the way we are. But we have to be very careful with this, with this phrase, this way that we like to talk, because if you really take it to reality, it means this is who I am. Yeah, I know people think I'm very rude, but you know, that's who I am and I'm going to change. So I'm accepting that being rude is just fine because that's who I am. And I don't need to change because the others have the obligation to accept me the way I am. So that's the person who comes through the door of a reincarnation and leaves through the door of a discarnation exactly the same way that they came, because they didn't see any reason or necessity to change themselves, because that's who I am and people have to accept who I am. Right? So for us to do not become this kind of people that comes through one door and leaves through another in the same way, we need to think about prevention and control of our vices, because that's the only way that we're going to reach moral evolution. That's the only way that by the time we live here, we can say, you know what, I have another little grain of sand, of goodness to add to the person that I am. Right? I grew up like a baby step of my moral evolution. And that's fine. A baby step it's great. Nobody has to come in imperfect and leave perfect. It's not going to happen, even if we try. So let's talk about prevention. So be vigilant, keeping thoughts connected with the good. So we all know we have our vices inside. So first of all, it's always nice for us to kind of understand them and recognize them. So if I know if someone is completely impatient or I get angry very easily, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to be vigilant. And when I see that anger coming, and I'm the type of person that anything like keeps me off, I'm going to start to do some exercise. I'm going to keep happy thoughts. I'm going to keep good thoughts. If I see that thing's coming, I'm going to, start singing, and everybody can find a way to cope. I'm going to start singing. I'm going to leave the room, and I'm going to come back in 5 minutes. Whatever it is. But we need to be vigilant. We need to understand that we have those vices inside of us. We need to understand, I tend to really act out of my pride, or I really tend to act out of my vanity or my selfishness. So maybe I have to be vigilant to those actions. Because if I'm not vigilant, if I'm not aware that they are coming and they're happening, I'm not going to change them, right? And try to find mechanisms to cope with them. So change. So, for example, I'm someone who loves to ruminate negative stuff, right? Well, I'm aware of it. So I'm going to ever see that time that I'm ruminating something that's negative, I'll change my thought. No, I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to about something else. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, to be very honest. And to be worse, I like to ruminate stuff that didn't happen, but I already, so that's awful, because it's something, it's something that didn't happen, but I already decided that the outcome is going to be negative, right? So it's even worse, because I already decided the outcome is going to be negative. And now I'm ruminating instead of the result as if they had happened, which they didn't, but I'm ruminating inside of the results that didn't have happened. And I'm trying to argue with the results, kind of, it should all have been done. And then I stopped. And then sometimes, the times that I win, I go back and I'm saying, what? Well, like, what are you talking about? Like, it didn't even happen. You don't even know the outcome. Maybe that person is going to react in a completely different way. So stop thinking and change your thought. And then I'll do it. But sometimes I lose. I get conscious of what I'm doing, and I still lose the battle. And I keep going. It's a choice, right? Because in that very moment, I made the choice to let my vice take over, which is the negative thought, which is to ruminate inside on top of something that didn't even happen. I do, right? Spiritism lately in the last 3 to 4 years, because that's when I really start to study and be more involved, is helping me now to recognize, and at least a few times I win the battle, okay? And that's everything that is asking to be vigilant, okay? Means you're gonna win the battle all the time? No, it doesn't. But if you can start to win one battle of 100, it's beautiful, because before I used to lose all 100. Now I'm winning one of 100. It's pretty good, right? And at least now I'm trying to be vigilant, and now I'm aware that happens, and then I shouldn't let it go. So that's a beginning. That's fantastic, okay? Avoid the evil and incorporate health habits to your existence. This is almost obvious, right? So if I avoid all the negativity around me, or most of all inside of me, I'm more prone to do not let my vices to come out. I'm more prone to let my virtues to come out. And when it says incorporate healthy habits to your existence, he's also talking about maybe quit smoke, maybe, eat a little bit healthier. But healthy habits as well is like, maybe try to do less gossiping. Maybe try to be a little bit more patient. And a little bit more patient can means, you know what, before I would explode, if you came and said something to me, I would explode in a minute. And then now, because I'm being a little bit more vigilant and everything, now it takes me 5. And then I explode. Is that bad? Well, it is. But isn't that better than before? They used to explode in 1 minute. It is. And maybe if I keep with an exercise, it's going to take me half an hour. Or maybe it's going to have to take an even bigger problem to really tip me off, which before if you said good morning to me in a way that I didn't like, I was enough, right? Maybe now you're going to have to come and, punch me in the face, because otherwise it's not going to, right? It's not going to irritate me. So that's what healthy habits to it is. So moral healthy habits in our day, right? Let's try to be a little less selfish. Maybe, every time I notice that I'm acting out of a pride, maybe I change a little bit. Again, small battles. We're not going to win all of them. But if we start to recognize them and make small changes in our lifestyle and in the way we live, in the way we see things around us, we can make small changes. And that small changes make you feel in a way that puts us in a better position for you to do the next small change. And that's how it goes, right? So little by little. Daily effort to renew the mental attitude. That's another one that's almost obvious. Daily effort. So effort. I have to want to make that change. Because if I don't want to make that change, I can recognize, I can do anything, I can do all those exercises, but I don't want to. I don't want to put an effort in it. So the first time that's going to become hard for me to make that change, I'll give up. Because there's no real effort in there. There's no real desire to make any change. And then goes with goodwill, right? So true desire to change. I really wanted to be able to do that. Because I can tell for sure that even on the the best effort that we put it in there, with the best goodwill that we want to do, we can have a true desire. It's going to be still very, very difficult to do it, right? It's not like, oh, if I put everything that I want, it's going to be super easy because I'm putting everything. Now I have a passion to change. That's my new passion. It's not enough. It is not enough. It is good. It is enough, but it's not going to be easy. It's still not going to be easy. And actually, when we're talking about, I want to go back a little bit about passion, because I had a sample to give, and it really went blank when I was talking about passion. I want to go back. So you want to see a way that a spiritist can be very bad about passion? So let's say I was new to the Spiritism. I came today to TSS, and I come here, and I'm blown away by what I learned in here. It's like I was in the dark, and someone now brought me this huge light, and it gives me so much passion for what's happening in here, and all this knowledge that I read all the Kardec's books, and I read all, like, there's so much passion. I want to learn everything. And then I can bring this passion in two ways. So good way is I learn everything, or everything that I can absorb. And then I decide I want to practice, because I have this huge passion for what I'm learning here, that I decide that now I am going to make all those changes here. I'm going to be more vigilant. I'm going to try to change my way of being. I'm going to share more with the others. I'm going to be more tolerant. I'm going to be more patient, because now I understand what I'm here, right? Great. So I'm using my passion in the right direction. Or my passion is so great that I decided everybody has to be Spiritist. And you know what? I don't even care if you want to hear about it or not. I'm going to impose, because my passion for Spiritism is so great that I need to impose this to people. No, you have to listen to me. You have to follow Spiritism. So what I'm doing now with my passion, I'm doing something good with that. Even though the base is what I learned, it's something good. No. Because I'm being disrespectful towards others. Because then it becomes, see, my vice of me. It's what I think it's good. So I'm going to impose to everybody. And it's a little bit of a pride in there as well. Oh, I own the truth now. Oh, I learned all these things about Spiritism, so I own the truth. So now it gives me the right to go and impose. Right? So see, even as a Spiritism, if we don't control our passions, we can cause damage. We're not here to get this knowledge and impose to people and say, no, you have to learn. But that's passion. And it's a passion letting our selfishness and our pride to take over, right? So it's not because we have this amazing knowledge or that we believe it is, and that it allows us to say, oh, I know I can have a passion for it. So it's a good thing, so it's fine for me to go and impose to the others. No, it's not. Okay. So that's what we have to look about, like be worried about, right? So when doing prevention, be vigilant, goodwill, and really let's practice what we're learning in Spiritism, not try to impose in Spiritism to anybody, because then that's when our passion takes over, and then it's not a good result right there, right? And always remember that it's not enough to do external change, right? We say, oh no, now I'm going to be a new person, so I'm going to dye my hair blonde, I'm going to change the way I dress, I'm going to say good morning to everybody, and I'm going to smile from now on. I'm going to smile to everybody every day, even if that smile, yellow smile that I give, but that's my new me, that's new Teresa. But in my mind, it's just like, I cannot believe I have to come in here and work with all this bunch of dumb people. So no external changes, it's internal. So we have to start to do our internal change and prevention from our actions, right? And control. How do I control? Because now we know they're there, right? Because one thing is I'll try to prevent, to let them come up, but not always happens. And how do I control them? Because they are inside of me. And how do I do? And control and prevention, they kind of go hand in hand and they kind of overlap. And it says that to control them, it's going to imply in sacrifice and discipline. Right? Sacrifice and discipline. And that's exactly why, a few thousands of years ago, we decided to change God's plan because it was too much sacrifice to follow this laws of love and fraternity. You know what? It's too much work. I don't want to do any sacrifice, but it is. If you want to change ourselves, if you want to take those vices away, we have to have sacrifice and discipline. So if, let's say, I'm a smoker and I decide that I'm going to quit smoke, but a lot of my friends are smokers as well, and some of them don't even know I decide to quit smoking, so they come say, hey, do you want one? It's like, oh, no, thanks. So I have to have discipline to say no, right? Or I go in an environment of people smoking, I have to have the discipline to say no. That's the decision that I took, and I'm going to go forward with it, right? And sacrifice, because don't think it's easy. I never smoked. If there's anybody here who quit smoke before, he knows it's not easy. The sacrifice that takes the crave comes, people smoke around you, and you want to actually eat the smoke. Don't even smoke anymore. You want to eat the cigarette, right? But you have to have the sacrifice to say no. I'm not going with it, right? So it's discipline, but it is sacrifice that you have to do. And sometimes even sacrifice to say, you know what? I would love to go in this party, but I'm not going to go because I know everybody's going to be... So I'm not sacrificing my social life, because I have a friend who, thank God, used to be a cocaine addicted. He now doesn't go to places that he used to love to go with his friends, and he doesn't go because he knows there's drugs happening there. So he now does some sacrifice on his social life to say, you know what, I would love to go there with my friends. I'm not going because I know there's temptation in there. I don't want to be in that environment anymore, right? So that's what I said. Goodwill, it's important, but it's still not easy, right? That's why you have to put that effort in there to keep going. I can do it. I can do it, right? So perseverance in change our behavior. So it goes a little bit with the discipline and sacrifice. So persevere, right? Yeah, I decided to quit smoke, and then someone came and offered me a smoke, and I said no, and then comes the next one. So you persevere and you say no. But there's one day that I couldn't resist, and I had one smoke. Okay, that's it. I'm going to give up. Yeah, I screw up the whole plan. No, persevere. Say, yeah, maybe I did that one that I couldn't, but I still know that I can do it. So I'll persevere. Because then again, go back to my example. Sometimes I win my battles by ruminating. Sometimes I don't. But if I give up because those 99 times I was able to fight, and so that's it. I only did the 100. I only won one battle. I'm not gonna persevere because I'm not gonna win. I'm not gonna win. So I'll give up. No, let's persevere, because changing our vices that are rooted in us for centuries, for millenniums, it is hard. So let's persevere. So yeah, I know I should have been more patient. I shouldn't have screamed. I did. Okay. Maybe go, apologize, try to fix the situation, try again next time. So persevere, because that's the only way for us to work on those vices inside of us, like impatience, intolerance, pride, vanity, name it, right? Could spend like a whole lecture just naming them, right? So perseverance. But thank God we're not alone. So there's people here to help us. So it's not easy to do the inner transformation alone. And that's why we need spiritual support at home and in the Spiritist Center. And I'm talking about Spirit Center because we're Spiritists. We hear the Spiritist Center. But do I need to be Spiritist to have the support to make the change? Do I need to be Spiritist even to change, realize I have to change myself? No. So any religions that suit you, that gives you that moral support, that gives you that spiritual support, it's valid, right? So Spiritual support at home, gospel at home, it's so important, right? Oh, but I live alone. Yes, I do. So I have no support. Yes, we do. And we still can do our gospel at home, and we still have a spiritual support there inside the home by the spiritual plan, right? So always remember this. And we even have people who live with their whole family in the house. Nobody else cares for gospel at home. Nobody else even is Spiritist or religious for that matter. But there's that one person who says, that's okay, but I'll do my gospel at home here alone. I'm going to sit in here and I'm going to do it. That's okay. That's valid. But you bring in that spiritual help for inside the home that gives us that inspiration, that gives us that good energy, that help us to do that transformation, that help us to bite our tongue and say, I'm not going to scream, that help us to bite our tongue and say, I'm going to be a bit more patient, because we do need help. We cannot do that inner transformation alone, right? And in the Spiritist Center, we come here, we learn, and it's not just because we come here and we all leave here feeling a bit lighter because we got our passes, but it's the knowledge that we're receiving here, right? It's this knowledge that it's here that can help us, that help us now to say, oh, now I understand that I have to look myself inside, understand, do this inner transformation. Oh, now I understand that gossip is a bad thing. Before I didn't even saw that as a vice. I thought it was like, it's normal, it's society, right? Oh, no, I know I shouldn't. So I will try to stop. I think of all of them, this is the hardest, honestly, is gossiping. Oh my gosh. Yeah, very hard. So, but let's remember, we do have support, and we need that support. We need each other, and we need places like TSS and so many other blessed places like TSS around there to help us, to give that a little bit strength, a little bit of that support to do that inner transfer, to understand how to do it, and to help us to how to do it. And always remember, sometimes you do need a medical and psychotherapeutic help. Sometimes I have that anger inside of me that I carry for years, and I don't know why, and I just do it. And you know what? It could maybe be a trauma from my childhood that at the time I didn't even thought it was a trauma, but but I'm carrying it. So sometimes we do need a psychologist or a psychotherapist, someone that can help us to look inside, right, Sandra? Yeah. So I'm just looking at the psychotherapists in the room. So they help us to look inside and say, hey, why I have this anger? Oh, now I understand. I have this anger because I have this problem with my parents from childhood. Or maybe when I broke up my relationship back in there with someone, they really triggered something in me that, I think I'm angry because we broke up, but maybe it's not because of the broke up. It may be something completely different. So sometimes we do need medical help to help us to understand ourselves, to help us to understand those feelings that we're having inside. So now that I understand why, now I can control it. We cannot control what we don't understand, what we don't know why, right? So help us to understand ourselves a little bit better. So now I can look inside to my vices or the causes of our vices and say, now I know what I can. Now I can also put that together with the help that I'm having in the Spiritist Center, what I learned for Kardec. And now it's make a little bit easier to make the inner transformation. Makes it a little bit easier for me to now be able to control the anger that I had it all the time, right? So always remember about help. Help is always there. We don't need to do that alone, and we should not do that alone, okay? And so how do we recognize them? Because, okay, now I understood. I have vices inside of me, and I know I have bad thoughts or I have bad actions, and I have to control them. Great. But now how do I recognize that a bad thought, that something that I'm feeling or that I'm doing is actually good or bad? And the gospel brings us something very simple, actually. It's very easy. Easy to understand, not easy to do, just making clear, right? So if every time we have a thought or you decide to do something that deters us from charity, that's bad. Or if what you decide to think or do it's a source of pride. So let me see why I'm deciding to do that or why I'm thinking like that. It's out of my pride, my vanity, or my selfishness. If my answer is yes, then it's definitely something, it's a vice. You're just letting your vice to come out. So that's not a good thing. Or is that going to harm someone else? Or even going to harm myself, like physically or even mentally? Is that going to create a harm for myself? So clear is not a good thing. So that's coming out of my vices. And entice us to do unto others what we would not like them to do to us. So if you follow those simple rules here of analyzing what we think and what we're doing, it should be very easy for us to know if I should stop myself or I should not stop myself from doing it, right? Because we have always remember that we have the power to make decisions, and the power is only ours. No one else has the power to change anything, to make decisions for us. So you know that cartoon, like the famous cartoon, you have to make a decision, and there's the little devil here, do it, do it, do it. And then this little angel comes, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Or if it's something good, it comes, don't do it, don't help them. And then it comes the little angel and says, oh yes, help, right? And then all of a sudden they both, poof, they disappear, and you still left to make the decision. That's a very, very good analogy, because in the end, is always our choice. They only inspire us. Because we're very good, especially in Spiritism, we're very good to say, I did it because there is an obsessor here, or because the Spirit told me to do. That's why I yelled at someone. Yeah, I have bad news. We cannot say that. We cannot blame on them. First, because they only connect with us, because we already carry the vice inside, so we're already vibrating like them. We call them, they don't come to us on their own choice. We call them. So it's our vices there that make us to connect with them, but because God, it's so merciful that He always sends our guard angel or our spiritual protector to balance, right? So this one comes says, don't do it, and then it comes, no, do it, or do it. No, don't do it, that's bad. And then we left to make our own decisions. And my own decision is, am I going to let my vice to come out or not, right? So always remember, we have the power to make a decisions, to decide what we want to do or not. It is always our choice. Do I let my virtues come out? Do I let my vices come out, right? And that's why I have to be vigilant, disciplined, all those super easy things to do, right? Not really, okay? And then on this material from Fab, they say that, of course, any kind of vices that we have will cause us pain and suffering if we let them to act upon us, right? But he brings a little list, and just to make sure it's just a little list, because the list could keep going on and on and on and on. He brings a little list of types of attitudes that we have where we let our vices to come out, that they create the greater damages to our moral evolution. And he give you just this is just a small list, okay? And he's saying that those are the type of attitudes that can give us a great damage, okay? More than other, they all create damage, but those can create really great damages to our moral evolution. So personal interest. So right there, we're talking about selfishness. So I only do things when they suit me. Yeah, I'm super generous. I'm super nice to everybody, until the moment it's not interesting for me anymore. Yeah, I'll help until it suits me. But from the moment it doesn't suit me anymore, even though I have the means to help someone, I won't. Because if I help that person, they're going to be in a better position than I will. And I won't do it. So I may look like that super charitable and generous person, but actually what I am really is it's selfish. I only act by personal interest. So I only do the good to others as far as is interesting to me, as far as it suits me. So really, I'm not generous, and I'm not that great. I'm actually quite selfish, and I pretty much someone who morally will not get involved, right? Excessive prodigality. So that's very interesting, because we all know as spiritists that we have to disconnect ourselves from the material, right? We have to be more spiritual and more material. But what they're calling about excessive prodigality, let me give an example. Let's say I was born on this really very, very wealthy family, which I wasn't, but let's say I was. And nobody, and I was spoiled, right? From the day that I was born, I was spoiled. I never have to work for money. Nobody talked to me about morals, moral values. Nobody told me I had to help anybody. So I give, and my life is so boring that I give no value for all the material things that I have. So what I do, I waste them. I throw parties. I pay the bills to all my friends who probably will go away the moment that I have no more money. Lucky if one leaves behind, stays behind. So I just live this lavish life where I spend everything that I have. So basically I waste. And this is very bad because we know as a Spiritism, for our moral evolution, this is very bad because as a Spiritism, we know the more it's giving, the more will be asked. And that is in terms of material means or moral means, which really as a Spiritism, like I think I should stop doing lectures, but that's okay. So then I can say I don't know that much. But anyways, so it's that person who was giving a really wealthy life and probably the mission of coming and helping people, because that's what it is. When we're giving a really wealthy life with a lot of money, with a lot of process, it's not for my own pleasure. Yes, we can enjoy and we should not be ashamed of being, being on a wealth family. It is what it is. But it's when I waste everything, when I go to this excessive prodigality where I just like throw everything without worrying about using those tools, because that's what it is. It's a tool given to us to come here. And I don't help people. I'm wasting resource. I'm wasting a very, very valuable resource that was given to me to do the good. And I just decide to waste everything. So imagine now I discarnate and they say, what you did with all that wealth that we gave to you, remember that you were supposed to open a factory and give job to the 1,000 spirits that you own, that you had debts with 1,000 years ago. You had debts with this 1,000 spirits, so you're gonna open a factory with all that wealthy, have them all as your employees, and you were supposed to help them to have means to support their families. Oh, what did you do? And I'm thinking, I just threw a big party and I wasted all the money. So I let all my vices of selfishness and illness and just idleness, right? Illness, like when you do nothing, you're idle. Yeah. So I let them to take over and I wasted. So that's the person who came out one door in one way and probably left even worse, maybe, if that's possible, right? Completely wasted a reincarnation and wasted the resources. So we need to be careful with that. Criticize and expose others' imperfections. Gossip is huge, right? I only talk about bad things about people. I only see the negative in people. I don't see the good in there, right? So I don't try to understand them. I don't try to understand their attitude. So I just criticize and I show their imperfections. Do not exemplify what you teach. I really, when I saw this, I was like, I really should stop doing lectures here. Because, but then I thought, I'm not teaching. The teachings came from Fab. I'm just passing the teachings. So I'm kind of in a better position here. But of course, what they're talking about here is, of course, I cannot follow everything that I'm being talking here today. I'm so imperfect. But what he's talking about here, it goes to that level where I come here, I do a lecture, and I'm talking about this really high evolved morals, but I actually do not believe on anything that I'm talking about. So the only reason I come here is because I can profit from it, either financially, and we see that in so many religions. We see that in Spiritism, where mediums profit financially from their mediumship, right? So yeah, they talk about Spiritism and all this moral and charity and everything, but then they use their own mediumship to maybe financially profit from it, right? So that's the problem, because then we're talking about here a hypocrisy, right? I'm actually say this bunch of stuff that sounds very beautiful, but I actually do not believe in any of them, and I don't even try to live by them, because that's what we have to do, try to live by them, right? Put our efforts in there. Am I going to succeed all the time? No, we're not, because we're imperfect. But we at least can have everything that we learn, or everything that you say, as our motto to live, to say, yeah, I know I fail, but I still believe that that's the right thing to do, and I'm going to still try to get better, okay? So it doesn't mean that I have to follow everything that I say, because it would be very difficult, but at least I do believe that what I'm saying, it is the truth, and I try to do my best to follow it, okay? So weakness doesn't allow the progress of evil, so it's when I don't do any effort. I'm just, oh, I know, it's because it's too hard, or because it's not convenient for me. So I do nothing. I don't try to do vigilance. So, when I'm talking about preventions and control, I don't try to do any of them. It's too much. It's, oh, I don't have the strength to do that. So I prefer to sink into it, right? Look at the damage that we do to ourselves when we do that. When we give up, having the goodwill, having the effort, to have, the desire to make the change. We are that person's going to come through the door of reincarnation, live through the door of discarnation exactly the same. So do not make any effort to overcome your own imperfections. So it matches a little bit of the weakness, right? Then we come back to that thing, that's who I am. And you have to accept who it is, because I am not going to change. And I'm proud of the way I am, okay? And believe it or not, when I was looking at the pictures for, my vices on selfishness, I actually found some illustrations where people pretty much saying selfishness is a good thing. Oh, in this life, if you want to survive, you have to be selfish. No, selfish is not a bad thing, because that's what, get you going through. So some people think it's actually a good thing. So why am I going to change? I love the way I am. Yes, I live centered to myself, and I'm not going to change it, right? Well, life is going to find a very funny way to change that, right? And one that I think is probably the most important here is to believe that a vicious environment has an inexorable appeal. So inexorable is something that you cannot change. And this is very important to me and very sad at the same time, because basically what I believe is that the environment where I live, it's so bad that even if I want, I will not be able to make a change. And why this is important is because that's the reason some of us already did, and some of our brothers and sisters are still doing, stay stuck sometimes in the low realms of Umbra for thousands of years, centuries, thousands of years, because they believe they're living in an environment that is so bad. The vices around me are so bad that even if I want, I cannot make a change. And that's not true. It doesn't matter which environment we are. The moment we say, I want to change, and we elevate our thought to God and say, Father, help me, because I don't want to live in this environment anymore. I do want to make a change. We are able to make it and start a new beginning and start working our vices. It's the same thing. I work in an office. We're 20 people in there. We all smoke, and I decide I'm the only one who decides to quit smoke. But then I decide, no, I'm not going to even do it, because the all 19 smoke, it's going to be impossible. I assume that it's impossible for me to quit smoke because the other 19 didn't. The moment we do that, we fail ourselves. We lose our hope. We lose our faith in God. And I think that's probably, of all of them, probably the worst, because it's going to really put us on a state of suffering and pain, who knows for how long, because it's going to be as long as it's going to take us to believe that we do have the power to make the change. We do have the power to work on our vices and better ourselves, no matter how strong our vices are inside of us. No matter how much my vices are bigger than it doesn't matter. We all have virtues inside of us. We all can work on them. We all can control our vices. Easy? Not at all. But we can, and we have the power. So to me, from today, if I can bring a little bit of this hope to all of us, and for our disconnected brothers and sisters that are here, that we have the power. That it's not an easy path, but we have the power to make the change. We have the power to transform ourselves, and no one will take that power away from us but ourselves if we do not believe in it. I'm a very happy person already. If we all can live here believing that it is possible, we all can make that transformation. We all can work a little bit, like it's a tiny, it's a quarter of a baby step each time. It's fantastic. It's amazing because we have pretty much the infinite to make changes. Like there's no deadlines, right? We have the time that it takes. So that to me is the main thing that I wanted to talk about. Always remembering that next week's subject is a little bit lighter, right? So Thiago's going to be talking about virtues. September 18th, necessity of moral transformation by our friend Rafael Oliveira. So I really suggest everybody to come this month and participate. And then on the 25th, we have a special guest that maybe Sandra can talk about him at the end when we do the announcements. It's called Evangelho Fácil with Luis Hu. And thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Teresa. I think we do have 2 minutes for quick questions. Anyone have any questions for Teresa before you go? She will be on lunch as well, right?
Yes, I will.
So if you want, you can ask the questions.
Digest.
You can have questions during the lunch. All right. So thank you very much, Teresa. So thank you everyone for watching us through the internet. We're gonna close now and get prepared for the passes. All right. Thank everyone.